What up, y'all? It's your boy, the grandest of them all, even your mama fall for. Grandmaster Caz, legendary Cold Crush Brothers, Boogie Down Bronx, New York City, and this is the CAZual Talk Podcast. And I ain't doing it by myself. I'm here with my boys, them boys.
Yes, sir.
Them Henny
Sir.
boys.
Yes,
my
sir.
man Big Dave
Yes, sir.
in the crib, Big Tone in the place, CAZual, aka KB, and the mighty Mike C. All the feel is for MCs. You know what we do, it's casual talk. I call it that because my name is Caz. Huh? Okay. And second of all, I mean, we just casually talking like we do when we hang out in the crib. You know what I mean? We get together every week. This is the boys. You know what I mean? We do our sipping. You know what I mean? A couple of us do a little smoking. You know what I mean? And we talk that shit, that the same shit that y'all talk about when y'all get together with y'all folks. All right? But we mainly, this is about hip hop, y'all. So, Henny boy, salute.
Yes,
One
sir.
time, let's click them things.
Click, click, clack.
Don't mind the baby boy cups, all right?
You know.
You know.
It ain't the cup, it's what's in it. Puerto Rico.
Pasta. Say that. A salute, of course, to Puerto Rico.
My man
He's MIA once again, but it ain't because he's swole, all right? He just out in Connecticut doing what he got to do. But of course, salute to our brother Puerto Rico. Now let's get right to it. Hip hop. I got some feedback from some of our earlier shows, and people were talking about, well, it was cool, it was interesting, I dug it, but it was too much sports. And this came from like within, right? This came from Tone people, people was listening to the podcast and she gave her take on it. And she was like, yo, it was cool for a while, but it was like, okay, when the hip hop gonna kick in? Because we got so caught up, like we do when we just talking sports. So we gonna reel it back in, all right? We love you, Neek. So we're gonna reel it back in and let's take it back to hip hop and let's take it back to the origins. Before we do, by the way, the New York Knicks are playing, in round 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1 against the Pacers. So that's going on while we doing this right now. So understand that. Okay, now hip hop. As you may or may not know, I'm on Rock the Bells Radio Monday through Friday with Sha Rock. Our show is called That's the Joint. It's all about classic hip hop. We play strictly old school for the OGs. All right. So when you talk about origins, we're talking about where all this thing started. And purportedly, that first party that was given on August 11th, back in 1973, at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, is the first documented hip hop party. Meaning there's record of it. There's a little video of it. There's flyers and people still around that witnessed it. So for us in the Bronx, we call that the birthplace of hip hop, and we recognize Kool Herc as the father of hip hop. But did hip hop start in the Bronx? And why does the Bronx get the recognition for starting hip hop? I just want to put that out there. Dame, you from Brooklyn or Crown Heights? If you didn't know no history about hip hop, if you didn't know nothing about it, and somebody asked you, yo, where hip hop started, what would you tell them? I mean, for you, from your own experiences.
For me, my own experience, it started for me in Harlem.
In Harlem?
It started for me. It started on 135th Street. That's when I started going to the shows, Friday shows. Why? Millbank. I started going to them shows like that, seeing Tribe Called Quest and everybody like that, Raw Bass, all that.
Yeah,
that was way late.
Yeah,
I mean, that's when it started for me.
No, understood. And that was the question.
Like,
and that was the question.
84.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's when it started for me.
Same to you, Tone. I know you go a little further back.
It started for me. It started with Mario.
Disco King Mario.
Disco King Mario, like you know what I'm saying. Before I was really supposed to be out and about, You know what I'm saying? And much respect and love to him because he saved my ass a few times out there in the park when I shouldn't have been out there with the older folks. And you know, it always been from that part of the Bronx to the part of the Bronx with Clay and Sedgwick and all that. So it was like two different parts of the Bronx doing the same thing, but you know what I'm saying? Then once I started traveling with some of the OGs and started going to the other parts of the Bronx and other schools that was throwing the jams, you know what I'm saying? K Connection was around my area.
Kenny Kent.
The other Hollywood, Kenny Ken and K Connection. You know what I'm saying? So then I started traveling with the OGs to the other parks over there to that side of the Bronx, like, you know, the Tinton and the Trinity and the Clays and Sedgwick and so forth.
So basically, the Bronx.
Yeah, definitely.
From as early as the Disco King Mario era.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we talking 70s.
Yeah, definitely.
Your hip hop come from the pioneer era.
Definitely.
What about you, KB?
Yeah, I would probably say it starts for me. Always probably at the park level with the older homies being out with radios and stuff like that. But it's probably I want to say Sugar Hill Gang, right? Like I want to say Sugar Hill Gang, but I think when it really starts to affect me personally is probably Run DMC. You know, Run DMC.
That era.
I think that era right there.
So pretty much the recorded era.
Yeah,
hip-hop.
definitely. I don't go back to cassettes. Definitely don't go back to cassettes. I mean, I think probably the cassette guy that even in that time was still resonating was probably Mo D, which is why I thought Mo D as a choice of yours as the underrated one. You know, I don't know that I would go Mo as the underrated.
All right,
one.
that's not.
No, I'm just saying like Mo D.
Here we go.
You know, no doubt. I'm just saying Mo D was a guy who I did know. Mo D I knew, Melly Mel I knew, and stuff like that. But I would say my first people that I started resonating with was probably Run DMC.
But your first hearing or recollection of hip hop is the Sugar Hill Gang.
Sugar Hill
Rappers
Gang,
Delight.
yeah, I knew that. I knew who was my favorite in that group.
All right,
Master G.
Okay, Mike.
When I think about it, like I remember hearing like all my friends like Kevin Kenny and them they had these tapes with DJs from the Bronx. So there was like Cool Herc and stuff like that, but I wasn't really into it as much like that. I didn't really get into it till I actually heard somebody rhyming on the mic and rocking the house, and I think that was like Hollywood, DJ Hollywood. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, this is it. But I still didn't craft it like that until one of my friends did it in school and had the girls around them. And so I say, you know, about 77, about 76, 77 is when it really kicked into me. I was like, okay, this is it. And I did a talent show in junior high school. From there, it was, this is it. You know,
So I'm hearing, well, you came in late. You came in during the rap era. So Tone and Mike are the only ones who kind of reach back, further. For me, I come from day one from this shit. Was no hip hop. When I was even getting into music, I used to sing in a group. In junior high school, we used to sing all the stylistic songs and Blue Magic and all that shit, and do shows at at Red Letter Day in high school. But Kool Herc lived down the street from me back in 1973, and all the kids from the neighborhood, all the older kids, used to like just be out like on the weekends or all going down the hill. Now the only thing down the hill was River Park Towers, okay, and Roberto Clemente State Park. That's where everybody went to hang out, swim, go to pool, whatever, recreation center. But up the street, that's where Kool Herc lived. That's where 1520 was. And so when everybody be leaving the block, everybody, all the shorties, we on the block, yo, what's up, where y'all going? You had your big cousin, you know what I mean? Where y'all going? Where you going? We going to Kool Herc party. We going to Kool Herc party. So as a shorty, not even know what a Kool Herc party was or Kool Herc was, we start seeing that this is something important or something to strive to be able to do. And this is like a couple years back. You know, I'm like 10, 11, 12. You know what I mean? By the time I'm 13, you know, 13 is when his first party at Cedric.
Right.
Okay? I was 13 then. I didn't start going to parties till I was 15. But I heard about them from then. I didn't travel outside of my immediate area, so I can't tell you what was going on in the South Bronx, the South. I can't tell you what was going on in the way up in the East Bronx or what was going on, you know what I mean? I know what I saw. I know what I was influenced by. And I know where everywhere I went, what people talked about, what people thought was important, who people said was, and that's Kool Herc. Kool Herc. Now later on, I heard about the young DJ Grandmaster Flash. You know what I mean? I heard about Africa Bambaataa over in Bronx River. I started hearing about the Brothers Disco up in by Edenwall and different people. But for me, from where I come from, and I'm born and raised in the South Bronx, but when Herc gave that party, I lived up the block. So that's my influence from day one. So I seen everything from then all the way up till today. All the way up to today. But the question is, why is the Bronx noted as the birthplace of hip hop? Well, because all of those things I said, and plus the fact, this is where everybody came to document the shit. If the same energy was going on in Brooklyn, if the same energy was going on in Queens, if the same energy was going on in Manhattan, Harlem, or whatever, why didn't they go there? Why didn't Wild Style, why didn't the people who made the movie Wild Style or the documentaries, why didn't they go other places? Why did they come to the Bronx?
Because Bronx
Hello,
is
anybody?
Yeah,
You people out there, can anybody, add on to this? I want to know. Hit us up, you know what I mean, in the comments or whatever. Because if you have an argument against the Bronx being the birthplace of hip hop, I'd like to hear it.
I think a lot came from the West Indian culture. They had the big speakers usually. They had the big music. Mm-hmm. Even the two people that are claimed to be that person from day one are of that heritage.
Yeah, but understood. Yeah, from a Caribbean heritage. Bam, all three of them.
Mario.
Bam, Flash, and Herc. But the thing is, they was in the Bronx.
I think
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. So
I think the Bronx was the first melting pot too out of the boroughs.
you could say that. You could say that. But I'm saying when they talk about the origins of hip hop, you got and the Bronx. I just want to know if there's another argument outside of that. Yeah, I mean, if somebody has a strong argument for another place, because I hear Harlem a lot. Mm-hmm. Harlem a lot talk about fuck that. We was doing this and that and such, and a lot of the original their influences don't come from Kool Herc. They come from DJ Hollywood.
Right.
And Hollywood is from Harlem. I mean, Love Bug lived in the Bronx, but like kind of made his bones in both of the boroughs. You know what I'm saying? Bronx and Harlem.
I've heard Brooklyn too, but I've always heard it as we was having parties.
Brooklyn
Not
always
that it was
had parties. We all, every borough had parties, but what kind of party? You know what I mean? A block party, everybody has block parties. They've always gone on. The kind of music that was played, whatever the music of the day was, dictated the block party, unless it was an ethnic block party. Like, you know what I mean? On Eastern Parkway, you know what kind of music you're going to hear. You soca, Caribbean, and all Jamaican, all that. You know what I mean? If you go to to the fucking Puerto Rican Day Parade, you're going to hear salsa, bachata, you hear all kind of different shit. You go to a hip-hop party, you're going to hear R&B, hip-hop, you know what I mean? And breakbeats and shit like that. So there was a distinction between the kind of party that it was. And I think Brooklyn gets a lot of credit because they had parties. And the people that kind of was their heroes, people like Grandmaster Flowers, okay, but these guys played dance music. They played club music. They played disco. Yeah, I mean, the hottest record in a crate in a DJ out of Brooklyn or Queens, and probably Manhattan too, was Love Is the Message. Okay? And you throw that motherfucker on in any one of them boroughs, and that shit gonna light
Get
up.
up.
Okay? But you throw that shit on in the Bronx, some people gonna light up. Okay, but if you throw on Apache,
There you go.
then you got motherfuckers' attention. So that's the difference between, you know what I mean, what we gravitated toward, and Hurt kind of led that charge to us listening to old break beats and the sections of songs, you know, instead of the whole, you know, song. Agreed?
Agreed.
I think so.
I remember when I first went to a party, so to speak, like it wasn't really a hip hop party, but it was like, you know, a party where we were doing a jam, and the new dance was out. The Freak, remember the Freak? That was out.
The Freak.
And the first record, because every time I think about it, this record always comes to my mind. Remember this record, Kaz? Take me to the great space.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of the universe.
Galaxy.
Oh my
By
God! And everybody was doing the Freak. Look, watch me on this camera. This was the Freak back in the day.
I hated that shit.
This was the best part. Somebody would come around and get up from the front, and you got from the back. Now you're sandwiching it like that.
No doubt.
And guys used to actually nut on themselves. Well, me only once, but guys nut on themselves.
I've heard of that happening. Okay.
Time or two.
But I hated the Freak because prior to that, you know, disco, it was hip hop and disco. The party basically was R&B, disco, and break beats at a particular point. When they start making that circle, that's break beats for the next hour. The B-boys is going in. And then when they wanted to cool it out, get the girls back involved, they throw back on some R&B or some disco music. Even slow jams at the end of the party. You remember?
Delphonics.
I gave to you. That was
That
the end of
once
the
you throw
cool
that
end
on-
party.
No,
You already knew. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. If you ain't hollered at nobody yet, you better grab a bitch right now.
Right now.
Okay? Before this song go off.
Gotta stop sweating first.
Right, for breaking in that circle.
Stop sweating first.
Crazy. So it takes me back to like a few things that resonate from that time, and they're building these Mount Rushmores on social media. You're starting to see, you know, these AI created Mount Rushmores of who are the top comedians, or who is the top rappers, or the top this or the top that. There's 4 faces on Mount Rushmore. Traditionally, the original Mount Rushmore, the presidents. For, I guess we could break down the elements, but I don't want to do that. I'm just saying hip hop, period, for hip hop. Who'd you put on your Mount Rushmore, Dan?
Wow.
It could be a producer, it could be a DJ, it could be a record exec, it could be, but if it got to have to do with hip hop, who'd you put on your Mount Rushmore?
You gotta go on the Rushmore. You gotta go on the Rushmore. Kaz gotta go on the Rushmore. One more.
Next.
Yeah, next. Yeah.
I don't know. Should I have been more
That was
specific?
rude.
Nah, because each person will take it from their own point of view. How they want to judge it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Nah, but you can pull out one. You got 3.
One.
One more.
Rushmore.
Somebody that's important to hip hop.
In your bring up.
My bring up.
Doesn't have to be an MC or a DJ. It could be a producer, a b-boy.
Oh, it's hard. It's hard.
Welcome to the CAZual Talk podcast.
It's hard. Go. Yeah, go to toe. It's hard.
And we're
Go to
back.
toe. Go to toe.
That's all.
We're back.
I'm gonna go Mario. Herc, Flash, and Hollywood.
Okay, that's a good one. Disco King Mario, Cool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, and DJ Hollywood. That's a good one.
I'm gonna go you, right? I'm gonna go you. I'm gonna go Mel.
LeBron.
I'm gonna
And Aaron Hall.
I think it's interesting that y'all get to pick up LeBron. Right? Y'all don't pick up LeBron fans with me, but we're gonna save that. I'm gonna say Mel, you. I'm gonna say Herc, of course, and I'm gonna go a B-boy and go Crazy Legs.
Okay, that works. What about you, Mike?
Mel, Mo, Kaz, and Herc. That would be Mount Rushmore.
I would put one up before me, because like I said, I'm from day one, you know, and I looked at people, and then we would have to break it down. Well, with DJs,
Yeah, definitely.
because if it's DJs, then it's Herc, Bam, it's Flash, and then I would say DJ Hollywood. If we go on DJs, I would put them in the DJ category before I put them on the microphone. So
Definitely.
I would say Hollywood, Herc, Flash, and Bam. For MCs, I would, and we talking about the early days, the pioneer era, because I don't do top fives for an entire fucking 50 years of
You
MCs.
said your question was like our Rushmore for hip hop. What we think our Rushmore for hip hop.
Yeah.
So I took it coming from you, my origin.
Yeah. Let's say
so-
origins. Let's stick it to our, because we can
that's-
do it for every generation.
What-
There is
what-
a set of, you know what I mean.
And like
people.
you said, you broke it down. I did my origin as in what I think the starter kit of hip hop for
Understood.
me was. But I could also separate it to my starter kit as MCs. You know what I'm saying? I said Mario, Bam, Flash, and Hollywood, because that, to me, that was the starter kit.
Yeah,
of
that's the
hip-hop.
foundation.
But I could also,
DJs first.
Yeah, but I could also, if I put my Mount Rushmore of MCs for my starter kit, then like Mike said, it would be you, Mo, Mel, and then it's. I would want to say I would have to make it 5 because I would say you, the Treacherous 3, and Mel. That was
Okay.
my Mount Rushmore of MCs.
Okay. If I had to keep it at 4, I'd say me, Mel, Mo, and I have to put Curtis Blow. And then as far as impact, and far as, you know, like solo, I had to put him on that Mount Rushmore. You know what I'm saying? If there was 5, I put Busy B too. If we go 5, I gotta put Busy B. Matter of fact, I might put Busy B before Curtis Blow.
Not me.
Well, that's you. This is my list, nigga. This is my Mount Rushmore. Okay.
No doubt.
Why would you put Busy before?
Because to me, Curtis is more Hollywood and disco and kind of club and radio kind of, you know, and Busy is the street.
Okay.
Busy is, you know what I mean, is what Hollywood is to that crowd, Busy is to the hip hop crowd. What Curtis Blow is to that audience, Busy is to the hip hop audience. You understand what I'm saying? And Busy he's a crowd rocker. He's a showman. You put that nigga in front of anybody, and you couldn't open up a hip hop show back in the day before, you know, and have that shit popping before Busy. You know what I mean? Busy get on it. Busy get the crowd going. You know what I mean? Lyrically, he's about here with Curtis Blow, because Curtis don't write a lot of his, you know, he got somebody who writes a lot of his songs and stuff like that. You know, he's a great freestyler, great performer too. But I think I would put Busy, first. Because he's just closer to the fabric, my personal fabric. You know what I mean? But that's why if somebody else asks me, I don't even answer the question. I don't, go into it because I hate to have to choose 4 or 5 people out of all the motherfuckers that's great or dope. And we talking about the people that people know, but look all the unsung motherfucker, all the people who, niggas that you know is fire, but if you say their name right now, they gonna be like, huh? Who? It don't mean nothing to nobody else, but you know what it really mean to you. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys out there, a lot of cats out there who never made it over the hump, who whatever life caught up to them, they start doing regular shit, get a regular job, had a family, wife, got married, whatever. But some of them niggas is like, just like basketball, sports, or anything else. There's people who don't excel to the next level, but shit, there's niggas that will whoop. Whoop on one of these niggas out here. Boxers, everything.
Boxers.
Everybody knows somebody that be like, man, that nigga will whoop so-and-so ass. That nigga live right up there in 4B.
From 15A.
Facts.
Beat that nigga. Boy, you beat it in.
Beat it in.
Thoroughly.
All right, what else?
What because I know you grew up in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? You was born and raised in Harlem. So what was like some of the first outdoor jams like for you? Like, I know, you damn family with you know what I'm saying, with the Tretch and all that. So
the first outdoor jams were actually us and the Tretch. Before they were the Treacherous 3, they were the guys on the hill. Right, so you had Mo and LA, Easy Lee, DJ Reggie Reg, Dano B. That was their little crew on the hill. And we had our little crew in Manhattanville. We were the Rock City crew. And we would always, every time they would play outside, we would play outside. We would always play around the same, share equipment and shit like that. But we were all just always around each other doing it. This before we formed in the groups. Our group was the Rock City crew, which was about 12 of us.
But like the first couple of jams you went to without performing, like people that you saw.
We wasn't performing. It was just.
But you had already established your little crew.
Yeah.
I mean, who was some of the MCs or DJs that you seen going out to some of your earliest jams?
Only people that I would see at that time, because we talking about a different time frame.
Yeah, no doubt. That's why I'm asking.
Was like when I would go around in Harlem and go to different parks, and you see DJs like DJ Pinelio in St. Nicholas
That's what I'm asking.
Projects, Kev Ski in Manhattanville. You go to Grant, and I forgot who was the, because each project had their own
Definitely.
DJ.
Right.
That's what I'm asking.
You know what I'm saying?
I want to know those names. I want them to know those names.
So I would go to Lincoln Projects before the Crash Crew was actually the Crash Crew. Disco Mike and Dave, and with DJ outside, you go out there, because there used to be a bunch of us. We go to different projects just to see who was playing.
What was them other names that you mentioned?
Pinelio, DJ Pinelio from St. Nicholas Projects. He was good. You go to Drew
Pinelio.
Hamilton Projects, Donald D, B Fats,
Sapphire Crew.
Sapphire Crew,
Crew.
Al B. Manhattanville, Kev Ski, Kenny G, St. Douglas Projects, Sinbad, and what's the other guy? It's just different projects throughout Harlem, because there used to be like about 7 of us. We had a crew, and we would walk around in the summertime to different projects. You young, you walk, you talking to all the girls. Go to they playing music over there. We going over there.
Definitely.
Yo, ain't nothing happening over here, and it be packed with motherfuckers. Ain't nothing happening. Let's go to the other party just to go to other places.
Yeah,
That's how it
niggas just park hopping back in the
Word
day.
of mouth. You just you went to one jam. If that shit wasn't rocking, yo, I heard
Go
they
to the
rocking
next.
at that school.
Next.
You
And
just
I
fell
would
out
always,
schools, and that would be how you knew.
I would somehow find my way, because they would gas me somehow to get on the mic, right? So I would get on, and I was MC Shoe at the time, right? I wasn't Mike C, I was MC Shoe. Now mind you, I was a little dude about this tall, right? And my voice, when I would rhyme like this. So they go, look at this little
Well, a lot of
MC
MCs
Shoe.
a lot of MCs back when they started did that because that was what they
That's
heard
what
on the radio.
that's what we heard. I'm thinking Frankie Crocker, you know what I'm saying? MC Shell. And I'm a little, but they used to love to put me on the microphone, I guess, because of that shit. I used to have my little I'm the S to the H and the O and A.
That's what's up.
I have an interesting query, and this has been coming up a lot recently. When is it time for niggas to call it quits in hip hop?
I don't think.
Is there a time for niggas to call it quits and maybe, like move on to the next thing?
Don't point to me. It's just a lot of jokes out there. It's a lot of. That's why we got one-hit wonders.
Yeah, but sometimes that one hit, can last a whole fucking lifetime. It's a lot of motherfuckers still on tour off of one motherfucking hit. But my thing is there a point, because I've heard a conversation about at some point, niggas need to just, give it up. This is a young man's thing. Give it up and start doing other shit. Like he started record companies, start putting out younger artists, or go into different things. But at some point, I forgot who the fuck I was listening to that said that. It was like, nobody want to hear Will Smith make a new record or nothing like that. Will Smith should be putting out artists and putting out, different things. And maybe not him specifically, but just older artists, period.
I was gonna say hip hop is the only genre where people think that way. You know what I'm saying? If you look at R&B, any other music genre, those artists get as old as forever. Like B.B. King, and they'll sing until they're 111 and drop dead. Nobody has a problem with that. When it comes to hip hop, oh, you too old to be doing. That's why my quote is always, you don't stop rocking because you get old. You get old because you stopped rocking. As long as you keep rocking, keep doing. Hip hop isn't old enough to say how old it is for you to quit yet. You know what I mean? It don't even make sense to me. You do what you do till you stop doing it. Damn it.
Basically.
Tell them why you mad. Tell them why you mad.
Because somebody said that to me one time. Because my kids one time said, Pop, you 61 now. When are you going to? I'm like, yo, I'm never going to stop doing this. This is me.
Sit on the porch.
You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to stop doing this. This is our culture. This is our. How are you going to stop your culture because we're too old?
I think people forget that this is a culture. Like, even if you don't MC or DJ, you still hip hop.
Yeah.
Like, you got a certain, like,
The way you live.
For example, when I was dumb young and I'm looking at my older brothers, I was like, yo, I really don't want to get that old. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because their version of being 40 or even being 30, when I was like 16 and coming to 20, their version of being 30 and 40 was whack to me. Like, these niggas was wearing slacks and V-neck
Sweaters
vests.
and shit,
Like,
cardigans.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that shit like, oh, that shit is horrible. Because they wasn't of the hip-hop culture. You know what I'm saying? But we came up and we still look cool. Or, I think there's a fine line
I think
there's a fine line of when niggas get old and they try to wear too much young shit. They try to be too young, and I think that kind of looks a little offbeat. But if you still rocking and you still look presentable and you still got your style, because hip hop is more than just MCing or DJing. You know what I'm saying? The way we walk, the way we drive, you know what I'm saying? Our style, our talk, the way we make love, everything is hip hop. We got a rhythm to us now.
Yeah.
Where when we was coming up, they wasn't rocking to the hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? So I think as far as niggas getting old, I do think if you're not being good at what you're trying to do, and you get to a certain age, then I think you need to find another. You need to jump into another lane.
That's what.
But if you're of marquee status, if you're doing good things in the hip hop culture, I don't think there's an age cutoff.
I think the market will tell you, right? I think the market will tell you. I think you should be able to do it as long as you are, because music is an expression given to people, right? Like you're giving that to people, or whatever the case may be. As long as the people are receptive to what you're giving, you should do it. When the people aren't receptive to what you have to offer anymore, I think that's when your time is up, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like.
I want to disagree a little bit,
Okay.
just a little bit, on the fact of there's always. I'm not gonna say there's always. If you're doing a good thing, it's just like us right now, our basic age group. We could all say right here, we still love to see Kane do their thing. We still love to see Rod do their thing. But if you ask a younger generation, that younger generation might be like, yo, these niggas is old. So just because the majority of them niggas say that they shouldn't be doing it, would you say Kane should stop? Would you say Rakim should stop? If the majority, which is younger, they're the ones that are mostly streaming, they're the one that's mostly buying, so they're the majority. So if they say that they don't want to hear Kane and Rakim, would you say Kane and Rakim need to stop?
What I would say is, again,
Was that the market?
I think Kane's market and Rakim's market is what it is. It may not be Young Yachty's market,
Of course.
right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know that Rakim is trying to get Young Yachty's market. I think
That's not the question.
it is the question, because what I'm saying to you is if Rakim had no one who wanted to hear from him, that's when I would think that it would be time for him to stop. As long as I went to a Rakim show, it's filled up.
No, I get what you're saying, but the way you said your answer, you said like, if the market, being the majority, is not feeling you, then you should stop. That's the way you kind of put it.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that there's.
I think artists have their market.
Go ahead, Mike.
Right.
You've been trying to get in.
Yeah, because I was when you do your hip hop, when you rhyme or whatever, you basically, although you write it, you want people to hear it, you basically doing it for you. I do what I do for me. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to stop, and I don't feel you should get to a certain age and stop because you too old for hip hop. You should never be too old for hip hop. Isn't too old for hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop ain't even that old yet for somebody to say, well, I'm too old for it. You know what I'm saying? We're the only genre of music that people even discuss that. Like, are you too old for it? I've never heard of any other genre, any artist being too old for anything. Why does it have to come down to just hip hop where you should be old for? You're not too old for acting. You're not too old for country. You're not too old for R&B. You're not too old for anything else. But when it comes to hip hop, man, you too old to be doing that. No, you're not. No, you're not. Look at the artists now or MCs now who are older but are better than the young ones. Look at Caz. Who in these young groups can mess with Caz? You know what I'm saying? Who can mess with Mo? Who can mess with Mel? And these young cats. Now I'm not saying they're not good. They're excellent. But it's the same thing when it comes to our music. When our parents, we don't want to hear our parents' music. We did to a certain point, but some of it got too old. We did to a certain point, but some of it got too old, and our parents will look at our music as, well, that's too young. I don't want to hear that. And we look at the youngest the same way. It's going to always revolve around that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel that way.
No, you're not wrong, because it's not a right or wrong. It's your opinion. I think that every generation has its music. And whatever age you are at that, when you're at that an impressionable age, when you start to be able to appreciate music and take it in, then that's the music that hits your soul. And that's the music that stays with you forever. You know what I mean? So no matter how old you get, you're always going to have appreciation for that music and that music first. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're into music and become a performer, artist, or whatever, I agree with you, Mike. We don't do this shit for other people. We do this shit for ourselves. We do it for what we get out of it. We do it for the satisfaction of seeing those words on that page and making them shits come to life. And the feeling that it gives us when people appreciate it. If there was nobody to appreciate it, we would still do it. We would still do it. I would still write rhymes just because I'd like to see a dope rhyme that I wrote. You understand what I'm saying? So the motivation is always going to be there if you real with the shit. You know what I mean? If you really like writing, if you like the art of putting words together and saying something in a way that nobody's ever said it before or something, then that shit is a skill and it's going to be in you and it's a passion and it's always going to stay with you. Well, how fucking old do you have to be to give that up? Never. Do you have to keep putting out records or trying to sell your thoughts and your skill to other people? No, you don't have to do that. I think at a certain point, other people's opinions of you and attention towards you start to dwindle because other things come into play. But you never lose regard or respect for yourself, do you? You never say to yourself, yo, I think I'm too old to be doing this. No, that shit come from other people's perception. So for me, I don't think you're never too old to do it. But I think you have to also not expect people to accept that you're still doing it or to appreciate you the same way, you know what I mean? Because of their limited view of how old people should be doing a particular thing.
I
mean, that's just my take on it.
I think that we are closer to saying the same thing than we are separate. I think what I said was that when I said the market, right? When I say the market, I think you can take it from a narrow scope and say the market of sales or whatever the case may be. What I was talking about was the fact that people would be receptive to it. So just like you said, the fact that if people weren't receptive to your rhymes and you said, well, they're not receptive to my rhymes anymore, but I'm still going to write them, right? There's a difference between, okay, I'm going to write my rhymes and I'm going to have them for me, and I'm going to be out here trying to whether get deals or sell venues or do stuff like that. I think that's the case. I went to a Patti LaBelle concert. She got the backup singers actually singing the songs. So it's not that other genres don't have to retire. You do. There's a time that you physically can't do it anymore. You know?
And that's when you stop.
And that's when you stop.
Can't do
but
it
not
anymore.
because there's a certain amount of people who feel like you too old to be doing it.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? That's
So you were talking. Your question was more about people making you stop, as opposed to you just having to stop.
It's about the basically the public perception that at some point you're too old to do it. You know what I mean? You should pass it on, pass the baton. You know what I mean? On to the next generation, or whatever. Or, you know, drift off into the sunset, you know what I mean, and do other things. That was the thing I was trying to ask. Do people agree with that or feel like, hey, you can do this shit forever? Can you do it publicly, commercially? Are you marketable? Still, maybe not. But as a passion and culturally, you can always do what you do. You can always hone your craft. You know what I mean?
Why would you even listen to a lot of these young kids? Like,
because like KB was saying, a lot of that is for public perception.
Yeah.
It is. You want
They're winning.
acceptability from the audience. You want people to still like you and still think that you're this and this and that and such, and when that doesn't happen, it's like, yo, the fuck I'm going on.
Does it feel good when you're rocking the crowd?
Of course it does.
This is what I'm saying.
Of course
it gotta feel good. It
But
gotta
you can
feel great.
always do that. And I think especially if you cater to your own audience. Because if you trying to be out here and you think Future's audience is want to hear from you or going to accept your music or expect, the same way that the audience that grew up with your music is, then you sadly motherfucking mistaken. That's where the problem comes into play.
That's where the problem.
If you play for your audience, if you make music for your audience, if you continue to cater to the audience that knows you, that grew up with you, okay, that supported you, then you can perform forever. Hip hop, country, western, rock, whatever the fuck it is. Even if you fall off by, regular standards, because a lot of people, when you don't see them in the limelight all the time, everybody say they fall off. They fell off, all right? The New Edition fell off. right? New Edition is still on tour to this day. I mean, every other year them niggas can come out and tour. You know, because their music is classic. Their shit is timeless. And the audience that grew up with them when they were impressionable are still fucking here. And there's nothing you can tell them about Ralph, Bobby, Ricky, Mike. You ain't nothing you can tell them about them. Okay, yeah, they're a little older, but so am I. I can still appreciate. You understand what I'm saying? When you see the Stylistics review and ain't none of them there but Russell, you like, fuck that. I'll take it. I'll take it. You know what I mean? Because you still holding on to some semblance of what was there when you really, really appreciated it and loved it. And that's what I think is dope about hip hop. And that's why I think nobody should stop the craft or the passion for the culture. But like you said, even physically, at some point, you got to fall back. Illness, you know what I mean? Physical incapability, just getting too old to move like that anymore. Happens a lot of time. But never let no fucking body else's opinion retire you. Never feel like you should stop because everybody's saying, nah.
Well, I'm too old now.
Meth got into a controversy because the comments that he made about performing at Summer Jam, he like, this is my last Summer Jam. I'm not trying to go out there no more. And they was like, why? He was like, that ain't my crowd. That ain't my audience. They can't, this audience can't relate to my generation. And I'm not going to, bust my neck trying to get through, or permeate that, that wall that's built up. So that's a lot of artists' problem as well.
No, it's not disrespectful.
No, it's real. Like, cause he realized it.
Disrespectful to meth.
No, it's
Not even that. Not even that. It's just that it's
Meth
like
knows how he moves a crowd when he rocks a crowd of his peers or of his age. You know what I'm saying? So for him to go out there to a summer crowd stage and these niggas ain't moving the way we all know Meth tears a crowd down. All right, no doubt. No disrespect, but it don't make sense for me to come out here to Summer Jam.
It's not the music that moves them. It's classic to me. Yo, my moms love that shit, yo. Or my mom, you know what I mean? But it just doesn't move them, and you can't fault them or blame them, but you got to just direct your energy toward your audience.
I think that's why some MCs, right? Like some MCs become renowned in the way that they do, because some MCs can only see MCing the way they see it. I write rhymes.
True.
I write rhymes the way that I write them, right? And when you start looking at MCs who might have decades of a career of being hot, right? They have been able to reinvent themselves. Like some MCs can't reinvent themselves.
Or they've had help being reinvented, or constantly have a machine that helps to reinvent them.
I think when I think of, again, one of my favorites, NJ, there's been so many renditions of how Jay-Z will particularly present his rhyming format, that I think that it gave him this kind of career in which some MCs they're not going to have that level of attention, and then it's going to be a little bit more fragmented. Like when we start saying, again, Meth might say, I might not do Summer Jam, but I'm not going to stop rocking because, again, I just was in Queens when he did that. And please, it ain't that nobody don't feel him.
Exactly. And that's the point he made. It's like, it's not saying I'm retiring, but I know my audience, and this is not my audience anymore. You understand what I'm saying? And that he just made that point. So even then, the comment was made that people should start going to acting or go start being entrepreneurs, start opening up other shit. Man, fuck that.
If you want to.
If I want to rap or put out a song right now, it's not. It ain't whether you buy it or not. It's because I still have the ability to put out songs, and it's what I do. It's what I do. Simple and plain as that. Simple as that. You know what I mean? Okay, so now this is something I haven't touched on. We haven't touched on as a group in a public forum anyway. But I want to get it done, and I want to put it sweep it under the rug. Let's get it done with. The Latinos in hip hop controversy. Okay, this shit is getting out of hand, right? And I've been approached by many different people on many different levels, different publications, media, social media. Yo, what you think about I don't have nothing to say. Or you already know my position because some of the first Latinos in hip hop were down with me. So I know the contribution of Latinos in hip hop, and I know where it came from and when it started. Okay, so don't try to throw me in that shit like, yo, well, nigga, Disco Wiz was my first DJ partner. Puerto Rican and Cuban, okay? One of my first MCs was Prince Whipper Whip. I mean, Puerto Rican. Once I left there, Charlie Chase. Charlie Chase was my fucking DJ for the Cold Crush. So me and Puerto Ricans in hip hop, I know, I see. But the question is, not were there Puerto Ricans or Latinos in hip hop? That's undoubted. But how big a contribution? Because it's been quoted as, like Fat Joe put it out there, that, yo, as far as people who made hip hop, it's 50-50 with Latinos and African Americans. And I've been there from the beginning. Prior to hip hop, I've been through the gangs, you know what I mean, when you couldn't walk through certain neighborhoods and all that other shit. And I seen all that shit all the way up to hip hop. And I know personally, okay, that every Latino person that I know of gravitated towards hip hop. Okay, they either got down with somebody black that was doing hip hop, or was associated through the movement that was started. Now there were some people, nigga, if you didn't know that Puerto Rican DJ down the block, or DJ Mike whoever or whatever, and get that speaker from him, nigga, or that amp, nigga, you ain't coming out to play no music today. So as far as contributions, it's a lot of them, you know what I mean, that really played integral parts in hip hop happening. At the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, if hip hop, if there were no Latinos in hip hop, would there still have been hip hop? That's the question I want to put.
Wow.
If there was never a Puerto Rican, a Dominican, would there still have been hip hop in your opinion?
I say hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah. I guess maybe, like I said, I always preface my statements by a very novice understanding of the whole history of hip hop. But for myself, the way I always looked at their contribution, I guess at its greater levels, in my opinion, was basically in graffiti, right? Like even when I was young, I knew dope graffiti writing Spanish people, and I knew dope dancing. You know what I'm saying? In that b-boy dancing thing, they were some of the dopest ones that I knew. From where I was around in Brooklyn. So would hip hop have been the same to me with no Puerto Rican doing it? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, would I call that 50-50? I wouldn't call that 50-50. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't call that 50-50. But it would be. I don't think it would be the same thing that it was without that
Understood.
contribution.
What about you, Mike?
I basically feel kind of like KB said. I feel that. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I feel that
Take a sip.
if the
Right? Take a shot, nigga.
Take a sip, it'll help you out.
if there wasn't any Puerto Ricans in hip hop, we would still have hip hop. You know, but I do feel they contributed a lot because that salsa beat and the congos that they used to play in the park, that all contributed to me. It contributed a lot to hip hop. You know what I mean?
I feel the same way, but me coming from like a direct perspective, and like I said, I've seen this. I lived it. I live in the heart. I live on Creston Avenue, bro. It wasn't nothing but Puerto Ricans on my block. You understand what I'm saying? And some of the first, friendships that I made were with Puerto Ricans or Latinos because the things that we had in common. You know what I mean? Being Wiz, my man, we like to dress. We like to be fly. You know what I mean? He wore Kangos, I wore, this and that. He had, we had a certain style that me and him together was like them dudes. You know what I mean? But he caught a lot of flack from hanging with me. Now a lot of Latinos, are trying to claim ownership of the culture, and rightfully so. Definitely made major contributions to this thing called hip hop. But don't forget, there was a time when Latin culture, meaning Spanish or Puerto Rican culture, and black culture was two different things. Even though we lived together in the same areas, it was like you ate Puerto Rican food, I eat black food, you wear this, I wear that. I play basketball, you play handball. You know what I mean? We on the turntables, y'all on the congas. You know what I mean? You can't deny, that we all exercise a different culture because of the melting pot aspect that we come together. We all in the park. We share the park, nigga.
Right.
Okay, so y'all in the handball court or the softball court. You have a couple Puerto Ricans playing basketball, but that's predominantly black people playing ball. You know what I mean? And the same thing happened with the music. The music was predominantly black people and some Puerto Ricans like, yo, that shit is cool too. Or yo, I got a speaker too. Or I got a turntable. Or and you know what I mean, came in. But I mean, just and we'll look up in the comments later on and see what people had to say about it. But as far as I'm concerned, and this is my last take on it, I know firsthand the contributions that Latinos have made to hip hop. It's been invaluable. But for you to say that there would be no hip hop without Puerto Ricans, hip hop would have been alive and well. It just would have lacked the contributions of the Latino community. But it still would have went on. It still would have been here. Yo, did you watch the Nicholas Brothers and get some of them moves? I don't know who the fuck the Nicholas Brothers is.
Yeah.
They don't know. They made us see it later. Once they started making the correlation between what we do today in this generation and what they did before us. And that's where my quote came from. Hip hop didn't invent anything. Hip hop reinvented everything. Ain't nothing new under the sun. We didn't do nothing new. What we did is we took from what already was there, and our generation said, I'm gonna do it like this.
I still remember.
Dancing, niggas could dance, but I'm gonna dance like this.
I'm a sprinkle.
I still remember.
Okay? Niggas spoke before, and nigga might have said rhymes before, but they ain't said it like this. They didn't say it like this. Niggas might have played records, but they ain't play them like this, and they didn't play these records. So everything that we've done has already been done.
Yeah.
In every generation, there's been a Cold Crush Brothers. In every generation, there's been a Prince. In every generation, there's been a fucking Patti LaBelle. There's been a James Brown.
I got to think.
Okay, but just in different things. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Did hip hop invent scratching?
Hip hop invented scratching.
It did invent scratching.
Okay, in the sense that, but guess what? Scratching is a derivative of something that was already there.
Yeah. When you queue it up the record,
in the same sense,
that.
hip hop didn't invent scratching. Okay, the need to find out where the record is at invents scratching. You understand what I'm saying?
Transforming.
When you put the record on the needle, even if the old radio DJs used to queue up the record, they put the record on because it got to start from the beginning, right? So they go rub it forward to see where there's a beginning right there. And then they'll pull it back before that sound so that they know once I hit that button, it's gonna start right at the beginning. When they pulled it back, that was a scratch. When you queuing up a record in a headphone and you rubbing it back and forth to see where it starts at, that's the scratch. Theodore, DJ, or Grant was Theodore was the first DJ to let you hear that scratch and to do it rhythmically. To have another record playing and have that record going, because prior to that, we all did that. Every DJ scratched the record before we heard it, because they had to cue it up in the headphones. That's where scratching comes from.
Get the timing.
It wasn't the Heineken commercial that they did, that they put out about the niggas spilling a Heineken on the turntable and them trying to rub it off. And Theodore had a problem with that commercial as well.
I wasn't to blame.
He had a problem with it.
That's what I thought.
The thing is that when you know hip hop from here, when you got hip hop on speed dial, when you can go to anybody and yo, Theo, you know what I mean? If I could call Grand Wizard Theodore right now, I can call Grandmaster Flash on the phone. I could call Cool Herc, Band Bada, anybody from then on up to this day. I can call on the phone. You understand what I'm saying? And get all this shit verified. So a lot of things opinionated. There is no right or wrong. There is no, okay, it's whatever you think. But a lot of this shit is actual and factual.
Yeah.
Okay? And you can have an opinion on it, on the fact, but the fact remains.
What hit me hard was it's kind of small, but it's big. Hit me hard when you said when the cadence came from the service, the hip hop, the hippie.
Oh yeah, and that's not even me. Yeah,
but I'm just saying,
cadence,
the cadence
of the word hip hop itself came from a cadence, the marching cadence. Hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip. Simple as that. And I don't know what they're saying in that cadence, if they're just saying hip hop, but they're not saying hip hop.
No, they're not saying hip hop.
Okay, well, it got translated into those words. Okay, through, of course, we know the infamous story of Keith Cowboy. May he rest in peace. One of the original MCs for Grandmaster Flash, who had a live party.
Yes, sir.
Okay, while the party was going on, had a friend who was going into the service the next day, and he started teasing him on the mic. Yo, this is my man so-and-so. He about to go in the Army tomorrow, you know what I mean? Ain't gonna be no more partying for you. After this, every day it's gonna be 4 o'clock in the morning. Here, here. And then after a while, it just became a running joke. And then the beat running up, like here, here, the ha. It became the most repeated phrase in the culture.
Yes.
And then by the time Bambaataa, came into power and started regulating, what hip hop was, breaking it down into elements and different things, hip hop was the most repeated phrase. So they named the culture hip hop.
Let's give a big toast to hip hop, everybody.
Salute to hip hop. Before that, we was just jamming, and we were following
Yes, sir.
in the Caribbean and Jamaican party kind of narrative, a jam. Where they jamming at? Where you get jamming from?
They jamming up at the block.
They
jamming up in the
jamming.
park.
On the one.
They're jamming.
Yeah.
So what did we go to back in the days? A hip hop party or a jam?
Hip hop jam.
We went to a
jam.
fucking jam.
Went to a jam.
Where they jamming at? Okay, no flyers.
In the big park.
You just see niggas out in the street. Yo, where they jamming at? Oh, 118? Who out there? Well, all right, we going to 118. And ain't nobody getting no cab. Ain't nobody getting on the bus. Niggas start walking. Niggas start trooping. All right, so during that time, those eras, you would see on any given day, especially during the summers, just hordes of people all walking in the same direction. It'd be like 30, 40 people, like a school, you know what I mean? You'd be like, where the fuck they going?
It's crazy back then. Word of mouth.
And you
That's
just
all
scream
it was.
across the yo, where they jamming at?
No internet.
Like, yo, 123, such and such.
And that was the dope part. Instead of names of clubs, it was just
numbers.
school
It'd be the park. It'd
Yo,
be
we
the
going to
schoolyard.
131. We going to 123. We going
Yo,
to
Chase is in
1.
118. Yo, Flash is in 63 Park.
Yeah.
Yo, the Super DJs is up in on what's the park on Tremont Avenue?
Arthur.
Arthur Park.
Arthur.
Super DJs come out Arthur Park. Everybody and grandmother be out that motherfucker. Richard T, Rough House, and Firehouse had the dopest sound system, and they would let like local hip hop DJs get up and play on their set. And that shit was unheard of. DJs was on some bullshit back in the day.
They don't want you
Okay.
looking at their records. or
Niggas
they
ain't want you
set.
looking at their records. You couldn't get on their
They
set.
came out with the
You know what I mean?
labels. They took all the shit. They put the tape on
Tape
Yeah,
the
on the
well,
cover,
Hurt started that shit. Hurt started that shit of erasing the labels off the records. Because, you know, what made you exclusive as a hip hop DJ back in the day was your records.
Yeah.
People would come to your jam just to hear certain records because they know you the only person that playing this shit. Now later on, other DJs started to catch on and shit like that. But if you had that playlist, like Herc had that merry-go-round, you went to Cool Herc Party. You want to hear the Mexican? Go to motherfucking Herc Party. You want to hear Give It Up, Turn It Loose by James Brown? Go to Cool Herc Party, nigga. You want to hear the Delphonics? I Gave It to You. Go to Cool Herc Party and wait till the end.
I hope you
Feel
know
it, feel it.
Huh?
the Hope Marathon.
The Hope Marathon.
Yeah, that was the name of a record that you only heard him at first. The Hope Marathon. I can't think of the name. I don't know. I don't think
Okay, it's probably another
I
name.
don't think I ever knew the name, but that was what they said.
Hustlers Convention, Sport. We got introduced to all of these songs at Cool Herc parties. You understand what I'm saying? Bam introduced a whole nother section of music when you start going to Bronx River, if you could go to Bronx River. You know what I mean? Bam made it come in peace for everybody, but like it was Leary fucking with Bronx River.
Said before
Now, if you was a hip hop nigga, then you
Rest in peace, Pow Wow.
Pow Wow.
Where's
Now,
Wizzle.
but the point is that there was a time, the formative years in hip hop, that unless you was there, you have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea the blood, sweat, and tears, you know what I mean, the sacrifice that it took to keep hip hop going, to keep hip hop alive. You're talking about each element had its detractors, all right? If you did graffiti, all right, you're a fucking vandal. You vandalizing the subways. You
train,
fucking up
yeah,
the
yeah.
city. You disrespecting property.
The handball courts.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're breaking, usually out in public, put out linoleum, or you just got a boombox somewhere on the corner.
Cardboard.
All right, you disturbing the peace. Disorderly conduct. Like get the fuck out of here with that. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're DJing,
Fucking up
Excuse
moms
me.
and pops turntable.
if you're DJing, well, you start that from at home. I mean, yeah, that stealing records and all that shit.
That's not my needle.
Yeah,
That's
but-
not my
Get off my
turntable.
record player.
Being, I mean,
That's
come
my
on.
records.
Yeah.
Having the wherewithal
Wow.
as a kid to put together a sound system and go out into the street and play music in the public for free, for the public for free. Become popular and then later famous for doing that, and then 50 years later having what you did as a kid become a multi-billion-dollar industry, a trillion-dollar industry.
Wow.
Okay?
Did you ever see that?
Did I see it?
Yeah, as a
Oh, did I ever see it happening, coming?
as a 16, 17.
Man,
18.
you know, people ask me that shit all the time. Hey, did you ever think that hip hop
I'd have
would
been
grow
rich
to
if I
these
knew.
proportions? I would be the biggest dickhead in the room right now if I told you that I knew, I had foresight, I knew hip hop would be this popular and not have any stake in it. I had no idea that hip hop would grow to these proportions. But what I will tell you is that I knew that anybody who came in contact with it, and Mike, why you looking?
Because it's trying. He
Mike,
knows, he
Mike
knows
looked
what
like
could happen.
Mike looked like Bernie Mac in life just now. Who's sitting over there like?
Mike was pitching the woo.
I told you about Pitchy Woo in here.
Richard Wu on the line.
I wasn't telling nobody. Ain't nobody did that. Ain't nobody did that.
Your hands are suckling.
That nigga Mike sitting over there.
Hands is supple. Hands is supple.
Ain't nobody did nothing.
Damn, where was I? You fucked me up, Mike. I want to start talking about some of these other podcasts that are going on and the things that they're talking about. Some of the things I want to stay away from is that, you know, everything is streets to people who come from the streets. Yeah. So the biggest thing about the conversation is not the hip hop. It's not about the, you know, it's the street part of it. You know what I mean? Did you kill anybody, nigga? Are you coming from upstate? Are you this and this and that? That's not really my thing. It's not really my thing. Okay, but I do want to talk about some of the topics that these other podcasts are weighing in on. I ran into my man Mecca, who was part of the Math Hopper podcast, and I'm like, we got to get Mecca. We got to get Mecca up here to talk hip hop. You know what I mean? Because I appreciate his insight, his knowledge on the culture and the things that, you know what I mean, he sees happening up here. I also want people to start, you know, letting us know what you'd like to see and what kind of topics you'd like us to discuss here on the show as well. You can hit us up in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe to Casual Talk Podcast. Grandmaster Caz and the Henny Boys, my man Big Tone, of course Dame, KB, Mighty Mike C, my son Puerto Rico, who's like in and out, but he's a regular. He'll be here as well. Basically, we sports fanatics. You know, I mean, we stay at it. We bet on games, on football games, and all that shit. But that's our personal passion. But mainly, what we want to convey here on the podcast is basically hip hop. There's a lot of things that need to be spoken about candidly. And I talked to LL yesterday as well, LL Cool J. You know what I mean, about something unrelated. But the fact that I do.
Big up, Al.
No doubt, no doubt. The fact
Don't
that,
say
you
that
know.
now. Don't say that now.
They don't get on, nigga don't get on his dick now and shit. Nigga don't. No.
Nigga had an emoji moment.
Big up.
Yeah, no
KB had an
doubt.
emoji moment. Nigga said,
Big up, Al.
And listen, speaking of L, like I said, I just spoke to him yesterday or earlier today. The Rock the Bells Festival, you know, it's going down this year. And he's trying to make some shit happen on there that you're not going to normally see in these big ass festivals.
as it should be.
You know what I mean? And which is only right. And I don't want to put it out there yet.
Yeah.
But if you do see it, you can trust and believe that it had everything to do with him and his own personal efforts to make these things happen for the Rock the Bells Festival. And I'm gonna just leave that at that. All right. But when you see it, you're going to know. You're going to be like, oh, shit, that's what he was talking about. Oh, shit.
It was wild.
But wow. Also, I interviewed Chuck D the other day for Rock the Bells Radio. Chuck D is come on, man. You talking about a voice of the voice of reason, the voice of like this is somebody that when you speak or when you hear him speak, you listen.
Yeah,
man.
You listen, because he ain't going to tell you about the new weed. He ain't going to tell you about the bitches shaking their ass somewhere. He ain't going to tell you about how much gold or platinum or diamonds or guy. He's going to tell you about some real shit that you really need to know, you really need to hear as a black person in this motherfucking country.
no doubt.
Okay? So he's already promised
would
me
love
that,
that.
all I got to do is give him the call, and we're gonna have Chuck D sitting down with us here on this. We're gonna talk about some real shit,
Chuck,
Okay.
Chuck and KRS-One are my favorites.
KRS-One is on tour right now, but
KRS,
that's a no-brainer as
Yeah,
well. KRS-One will be here sitting with us on the CAZual Talk podcast. My brother, my tag team partner, Grandmaster Melly Mel, who's been involved in a lot of controversy in social media.
Oh, my
you know,
God.
with his views on hip
My
hop.
brother.
But he is, come on, he's the king. You know, he's that dude.
yeah.
And a lot of times when people say, yeah, well, how you going to say something like, how the fuck are you going to tell me what to say?
Yep.
Basically.
Call it the way your mic see it.
There you go. There you go. How the fuck you
I
going to
knew
tell
you
me?
was
So
holding that back.
Melly Mel is another person.
He was holding on to something, man.
Nah, but that's real. That's real. And that's the way Mike sees it. But we want to hear from you in the comments. We want to hear some of the topics that you would like us to talk about, and maybe some of the guests that you would like us to have come and talk about them as well. Like I said, I got hip hop on speed dial. I call anybody and pretty much try to get them down there. We located in Harlem. You know, right now I'm not going to give you the exact address because I don't want anybody running down here trying to get up. You know what I mean? But it's going to be on. It's going to pop. Can I get an update on the game?
All right, I'll get to you right now. It is the fourth quarter, 3 minutes and 44 seconds left. Pacers 102, Knicks 116.
Okay.
Looking good, brother. Looking good.
We are about 14, three some minutes left. I would think that we okay, but I ain't leaving the studio until we got to win. So I can hold up that jersey, baby. All right? I'm not, the show is not over until we know what the fuck I'm going on.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that our health would be in attack as well.
That's, no doubt. Hey, real quick, we got time before the game is over. Let me throw this up. The Hip Hop Museum
Yes.
being built in the Boogie Down Bronx as we speak. I have been added as a hip hop consultant to the museum, so I am helping into kind of, try to get exhibits for the museum. I'm helping in the, how it's going to look, how each exhibit is going to look as far as the elements of hip hop and things like that.
Okay.
So I'm deeply, involved in the building of the building and everything that's going to go on. I'm trying to recruit, and trying to get artists to, come and give me stuff or donate things to the museum for display when we open. I think it's important, and I've always thought it was important to keep and to collect and to archive these things that have to do with hip hop. We just celebrated the 50th anniversary of hip hop. Most of us are that age or older. So everything that has happened in hip hop, we had access to at some point. If you're a collector like myself, you try to keep everything that has to do with the culture. So with that being said, my job is to try to get some of these artifacts and collect some of these artifacts and to put things out there that will put hip hop in a visual perspective, along with the things that are going to go inside the museum, the educational part of it, the interactive parts of it. We got AI now, and AI is this nigga Mike.
I ain't say nothing.
I know, but when I think AI, I think me and him playing 2K.
Oh, okay.
And how he utilizes that shit. Let's get back to the museum. Do you think it's important that the museum, number one, be here in the Bronx? Okay, and number two, what should be in it?
What do you mean by that? What should be in it?
If you were to go to a museum, especially in the Bronx, that's supposed to be the hip hop museum, what would you want to walk away from it? What kind of, like, when I walk away from that, I want to be able to say
Everything from the foundation. Heard everything.
You know what I would think?
Hold
From
on,
the ground
let
up.
me finish.
From the ground up. That's what that is. A museum. It's got to be from the ground up. Everything should be from the ground up.
So you would want to see everything from the
Everything.
beginning, from the origins,
Everything.
all the way up. Okay, how about you, Tom?
I think it definitely got to be interactive. You know what I mean?
Interactive.
Have I don't know if you want to say corners or like how you had a corner in the Bronx Zoo. Where you were doing the interactive thing, like have break dancing for the little kids and you know what I'm saying? Have someone teaching people how to scratch and you know the art of queuing records up, you know what I'm saying? Have a graffiti thing, show them how to do characters and graffiti, the whole shit, the MCing, let it be interactive where you actually get to do hip hop. Like for a person that don't really know hip hop, they just see it.
Right, you get to actually practice what in its elements.
Yeah, because everybody can just walk and see a picture of her, see a picture of Mario, see a picture of you.
But to be able to do what they actually did.
So they come out of there like, yo, I had a wild good time. I got to do this. I got to do that.
That's what I want. That's what I want. What would you want to walk away from the museum? What feeling would you want to walk away with?
I think, first of all, I think that would be dope. But my thought was probably more along the lines of Kangos for L and
the fashion aspect.
The fashion aspect of the
what it
things
looked
that
like.
happened, what it looked like, what it smelled like, the jewelry, the Adidas, the Pumas, you know what I'm saying, the fat laces.
So the fashion aspect
the fashion
of it, what hip hop looked like back
what it
then.
looked like.
What about you, Mike?
Basically,
And you being an MC, and a practitioner of the culture, and a pioneer, from the early days of hip hop, you walking into something that's supposed to be a hip hop museum, an authentic hip hop museum, what would you want to walk away from them, from that experience? What would you take away from that?
Okay.
What would you want to take away from that?
It's kind of between a rock and a hard place. Let me explain why. It's because when you go to a museum, usually when you go to a museum, you see artifacts from people that are definitely not here anymore.
Okay.
Years and years of artifacts. If you go to a hip hop museum, most of the stuff that you're going to see in the museum, the people that those artifacts are still here. You know what I mean? They're still alive. So, like, how old can an artifact be for it to be in the museum? Like right now, I guess we could still give up something from the 70s, go home and find you one of your hip hop shirts or something from the 70s, and and that could be put in the museum if you're a hip hop artist who are from. Because remember, we're not at that point to where it's that old yet, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
For it to be a museum to where you're going to see something go, dang, that happened then, and then the same guy that they're talking about can walk right up to you. Yeah, that happened. So
but to some of those patrons,
But does that devalue
it
the
doesn't,
fact?
but at
Some
the
of those
same
patrons-
time,
some of those
it
patrons
doesn't
gonna be young.
devalue it. It doesn't devalue the fact because I think it's kind of dope. I think it's still cool that you can go and go, wow, that was fly. Look at Cool Herc, and then Herc can walk and go, yeah, look, I had on my green socks that day. You go Herc right there. So you can, we're still here.
You ain't
The
never
people are
met
still
Cool
here.
Herc.
Cool
Herc.
Martin Luther King.
Yes, it
Martin
did.
Luther King.
We still, people
Henry
are
right in
we're
the chest.
still here. You know what I'm saying? For it to be a museum, we're still here.
It's kind of hard to kind of put that into, perspective. Like you said, when we are still here. And traditionally, when you think of museums, you think of something that documents things that happened a long time ago, back in our history. But the history of hip hop,
Only 51.
and the first generation of it is about to be over. Meaning me, Cool Herc, Bam, all the first generation of hip hop is about to leave this place. Okay, so the foundational era of hip hop is about to go. You have to document something before the people actually that would are gone. That's the best documentation of a person, a place, a thing, or a culture is when you get it while it's going on, while it's happening.
from the source.
So history happens daily. Whatever happened yesterday is history today. So 50 years of history for a culture, for a movement, for anything is a long fucking time. For anything to last for 50 years is a long fucking time. So for hip hop to start to be documented at 50 years, it's not a far stretch. And it's something that needs to be done. It's necessary. And is what the museum is trying to do, and what I'm trying to do and help the museum to do, is become that institution that tells you about this culture, you know what I mean, that teaches you, that has things that you can tangibly see and, like you said, Tone, interact with, okay, that can make you a part and give you a better understanding of the culture, what it's about, what it was intended to be about, and what it has become to this day. AI is going to play a large part in that as well, and that's the technology that has nothing to do with the early part of hip hop. But what we have to do is we got to make it work and not let it work us.
Right.
Okay, we got to take the technology, use it to exemplify the things that we want to put forward, the history that we want to put forward, and make it do it for us.
Make it do what it do.
Yeah, that's how GM see it.
Because 50 years down the line, we can start this.
Yeah, it is. That's the truth. 50 years,
You know what I'm
we'll
saying?
be the old school artists.
But
Okay,
even
KRS
but
once
even
said
at
it.
that time.
A long time.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right. Yes, sir.
Hey, listen, man, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. You already know,
Right.
baby, it's hip-hop all day, every day. Salute to my brother, Bigga. Salute to my man, Councilman Vernick Alvarez. I might be jumping the gun, but I'm optimistic, my dude. I already know. You got my vote. All right, salute to my Henny boys, Big Dame, Big Tone, KB, my man Mighty Mike C. And salute to my son, Puerto Rico, not in the building, but he'll be back with us next week. Well, we'll be tackling some more of these questions, queries, and narratives going on in hip-hop, okay? Like I said, I'm going to have a lot more guests joining us. This is the core right here. We always going to be here. But there'll always be an extra extra seat. Okay, damn, hold on.
That's a shot.
Yeah.
There'll always be an extra seat.
Yeah.
Okay, of course, for our hip hop guests, and like I said, we got many that have already knocked on the door and that want to come and sit down with us. So, what's coming up by the next time we see you guys? I will be performing at NJ Pack on June 6th for the Master P and the No Limit Soldiers Benefit Concert. Okay, my sister Tiana Von Johnson gave me a call. She said, yo, I'm behind this. I'm doing this thing. You got to come perform. Hey, no brainer for Tiana. So I'll be there. Chubb Rock is performing. Peter Guns is co-hosting. The Lots are performing. The Force MDs will be there performing as well.
Yes, sir.
So I'll be in the building that day. And then the following day, June 7th, Chirac Day in the Boogie Down Bronx. That's at Gun Hill Park in the Boogie Down Bronx on Magenta Street. Make sure y'all come out for that. It's a free event. And we're going to be out there tossing it the fuck up. All right? Of course, the Rock the Bells Festival coming up later on. We'll talk about that the next time you see us here on the CAZual Talk podcast. Once again, I'm Grandmaster Caz, the grandest of them all, leaving your mama fall for
Mama.
Grandmaster Caz. These are the Henny boys. This is the CAZual Talk podcast. See you next week, baby.